Well, I've got a little bigger project for today. I'm going to sand down and repaint this part of the driver's door. As you can see, it's had some kind of bad paint work in the past. The rest of the car is pretty much flawless. I don't know what they did. You get it in the light, you can see did something with some sort of spray paint. At any rate, I got the matched paint, had some made up, polar white. So I'm going to repaint this. Actually, I don't think I'm going to take the mirror off. I'm just going to go around it very carefully. And I got some sandpaper and supplies, so I'm going to get started on it. Well, I've got all the rough sanding done. Gotten rid of all those, I don't even know what they were, just the paint that was glopped on there. And then it's, you can see the sanding shrinkage, but I still need to do a little more sanding. I only sanded this top part and I scuffed the bottom part because it was still the factory paint. And then I'm going to put some primer over this whole thing, wet sand it. I'm going to tape it off really, really well and shoot it, and that'll be tomorrow. But the rest of the car, the paint looks really good, except for a few dings. But depending upon how this works out, I may decide to do some more paint work on the car, but for right now, I'm just doing the top part of the door because there's nothing wrong with the bottom part. I've got these feather edged out, these chips that were on the edge right there, so everything looks a lot worse than it actually was. But it's progress. I'm gonna clean up a little bit, and I need to go to the store and get some sandable primer and probably some more sandpaper. Well, it's the next morning and I've got this thing all taped up. I'm gonna prime it, let it dry, and then I'm going to wet sand it a little bit, let that dry, then I'm gonna shoot it. Hopefully it should go pretty quick. Now I know the right way to do this is to actually take the door apart, remove all the trim, the handle, the mirror, the belt molding, but I've taped it off pretty well, and quite frankly I'm just concerned about clips breaking and things like that, definitely with that molding. So I've elected to go ahead and tape it off, or as I like to call it, a tape and rape. But I'll take my time and I'll do it right. So I got some sandable primer. I'm going to go ahead and hit those bare spots. Like I said, I'm not going to prime the whole thing because the paint on the door, except for really where you see right there, is original and in really good shape, so there's no need to prime it. I've scuffed it and I've degreased it, so I'm going to go ahead and spray some primer and let it dry, go from there. Okay, here it is with the primer. That'll probably take maybe 20 minutes, half hour to dry. Then I can color sand it, clean the whole thing down. I'm sorry, not color sand, wet sand it, clean the whole thing down, and then shoot it, let it dry. My biggest concern is the actual color match, the panel butt of the quarter panel to the door and the door to the fender. I mean, I'm going to be kind of stuck with it. I had this mixed up, but as you probably know, white is a very difficult color to match. There's many different variants. Just from the touching up that I've done, brush touching, little chips and stuff here and there, it seemed to match pretty well, but I guess I won't really know until it's on there and dried. I got a single stage enamel, just like the car is painted in from the factory. So I'm trying to replicate as close as possible. So we will see. Okay, it's primed, sanded, and dried. So now it's time to go ahead and shoot it. So I'm not going to film during this process because I don't want to take time out while I'm actually putting the finish coat on. But I'm hoping this will work out and not give me any trouble. But either way, it's going to look better than it did before. I don't know if my video previously captured what was actually wrong with this door, but there was some kind of paint glooped on there and it was all cracked. So I've eliminated that problem, isolated it, sanded it. It's isolated under the primer. So, wish me luck. Here goes nothing. Well, it is done. I've used the entire can and it's drying. God, I hope it matches. It's not the shiniest finish, but I can always color sand and buff it after it's done curing. But the biggest thing, like I said, is I hope it matches reasonably well. I'm not going to unmask it till it's fully dry. But I got the garage opened up and just let it air out and dry at this point. And I'll pull everything and clean it up and do the reveal. Well, color matches pretty well in this darker condition, I have to say. I'm pretty happy with that. The actual job I did is okay. This is definitely not as glossy as the factory, but like I said, once that's cured, I can polish it. I guess that would be my only gripe about this whole thing. Seemed to cover pretty well, but consistently there's a lot of orange peel. Had a little bleed through around the handle. I'll get that off the rubber with some acetone. Now I'm going to totally redo these moldings. So where some of that plastic dip came off, I'm not going to worry about that for right now. But I guess the match, it matches really well. Not going to complain. Even with having this car covered with newspaper and sheets, there's overspray on it. Comes right off, so I definitely need to wash this car later today, rinse it off. There's a couple dings in that door I didn't bother fixing because there's dings all over the rest of the car. I wasn't going to go through the trouble. Really just looking for a more consistent paint finish. So I would say actually that color is pretty damn good. So I guess that's one more project done. That'll do it for now. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the flip side.